Hello, I'm Anthony. I've recently been forced to buy a new PC and configure Cubase completely from scratch. This is for many different reasons. Basically, my PC or certain components of it were over 6 years old, and it was just basically dying in many different dimensions. And so I decided that I was going to use this opportunity to do a completely clean reinstall of Cubase from scratch. I didn't want to copy and paste massive configuration folders such as my entire roaming folder, which if you've ever done any Cubase configuration before, you'll know that that's where the majority of your preferences are stored. I wanted to do the entire thing completely manual and completely curated so that my new build was as clean and lean as possible. I'm going to describe that process for you today. The way that I've done it is because it took so long to prepare and to actually do the installation, it wasn't viable for me to have the camera on to show you this stuff in real time. So I've taken a load of screenshots and I'm going to describe this process in very great detail so that if you want to build Cubase for yourself on a brand new PC and retain as much of your configuration as possible, this is the video to watch. I'm going to describe exactly how to do it. Just a quick note before we start, you're looking at Cubase 15 here. I've downloaded and installed this today. I finished building my new PC yesterday, so once I got to the stage where I was satisfied that everything worked, I bought the Cubase 15 update, I've downloaded it today, installed it, and it's worked perfectly. All of my configuration information from the new build has been dragged across into version 15. So what you're seeing here is version 15, but everything that I'm going to show you today is version 14 because I didn't want to introduce this extra wrinkle into the equation. Okay, so first things first, what prep did I do? Well, a massive amount. I spent about 3 weeks between ordering my PC. I had to wait for it to be built and delivered. And so I spent that time scouring my PC, in addition to my Cubase stuff, everything else, but we're only talking about the Cubase installation today. And I made a note of everything I was going to need to reinstall. And so keeping copious notes is the best way to make sure that the process goes as smoothly as possible. I was so well prepared that when I actually came to do the install, it was really very, very straightforward. And I basically just followed this list installation by installation. Obviously, we're concerned with Cubase here. I'm going to go through what all of these entries mean over the course of this screenshot-laden presentation. Now, this is going to be an installation video. I'm talking about the process of installing everything on a new PC, but it is important to bear in mind, obviously, you're going to need to deactivate all of the licenses on your old machine first. So if you have the opportunity, I was basically doing a rebuild of a dying PC here. So I did have the opportunity to go into all of the applications and deactivate all of my licenses. Just by way of example, here's the Steinberg activation manager, and you literally just go down this list pressing deactivate for everyone. Each of the software bundles that you have is going to have its own deactivation process. Make sure you go through all of them. It just basically makes the process easier to get up and running on your new machine. Most companies will understand if you have some sort of license issue. If you contact them, they'll basically kind of de-license the old machine for you if you need to, but it's much easier to do it yourself. So I'm presuming here that you've got access to all of your licenses and you're good to go. So here I am installing everything on a brand new PC. The very first thing that I did was download the Steinberg activation manager. Technically, I didn't need to do this. You can make your first process downloading the Steinberg download assistant, and as part of that process, you can actually install the activation manager. I wanted to do this manually because I wanted to make sure that from the very beginning, from the very first step, all of my licenses, all of my Steinberg licenses were fully activated. So I downloaded the Steinberg activation manager, installed that individually. First time I tried to log in, I immediately got an error. I've seen this error many times. It's basically just part of Steinberg's very clunky application management. So if you see this message, try not to panic. I've seen it many, many times and I basically ignore it, just press the try again button. But eventually you're going to successfully log into your Steinberg account and you're going to be faced with this. Here's the activation manager. Here are all of my available licenses ready to activate. So I went through each one of these one by one. I've not found a way to do this en masse. So you basically just go down all of these buttons, press activate for each one. That basically activates the license on your new machine. And this is what it's going to look like after you've activated all of your licenses. You have the word activated against it with a deactivate button. Step number 2, download the Steinberg Download Assistant. As I said, you can do this at step number 1. I chose not to. It worked perfectly for me, so I'm going to recommend that this is the way you do it as well. Go to your Steinberg website and download the latest version of the Steinberg Download Assistant. From this point onwards, this is how you're going to do the rest of your Cubase installation. Not sure why I'm circling the Mac link. Here's the Windows version, so just download that, install it, and you're up and running. This is all really straightforward stuff. I'm rattling through this at the moment because there's really nothing complicated. All we've done is just downloaded 2 very generic applications, log into them using your My Account details. It's just, there we are. And this is the point at which the Download Assistant has been given My Account details, and it's figuring out how it's going to need to populate its windows with all of my products. Once the Download Assistant has initialized, go into Settings and choose your download directory. So by default, it's going to locate somewhere on your operating system drive. I have all of my Cubase installation on a second drive. It's an internal SSD, but it's got nothing to do with the operating system disk. So I pointed this to my F drive, where I had my Cubase data download folder. Your music installation folders are vast, so just make sure you've got space to store them all. Now my installation pics have gone a little bit awry here. I'm having to give you a live view of my actual Download Assistant because I wanted to show you the My Products tab on the left hand side. I've never seen this before on my old system. The My Products tab was an absolute mess, and I presume it's the way that I installed applications and then, I don't know, updated them, or the way that I input keys. I can't exactly tell you why, but I didn't have a comprehensive list of all of my licensed products. So starting completely from scratch with no configuration information on this new machine has already had a benefit. My Steinberg Download Assistant is a lot cleaner. This is absolutely fantastic to see, and I've never seen it before. Just as a matter of interest, down below we have all products, separate licenses required. Presumably this is all of the stuff that I'm not interested in, because this list is comprehensive. These are all of my licenses, all collected together in one place. Fantastic stuff. I didn't realize when I was taking these screenshots that I left the settings window open, so you can't see this in the screenshots that I've taken. So this is my first install. I haven't clicked the install all button up at the top. Oh, yep, you can see it. I'm not remotely interested in the vast majority of this stuff. We'll come back to these download screens over the course of this process, but just for now, I've installed the single Cubase application and nothing else. And then I run Cubase for the first time. It's going to select my audio driver. By default, it's gone to the Steinberg one, but I want the Focusrite USB audio, so I selected that. And here we are looking at a completely brand new initialized Cubase 14. Nothing like what I wanted to see. You'll hardly be able to see any of this because it's just completely black. What an absolutely appalling first look at an application this is. How can you possibly think that this is what I want my program to look like? Anyway, right out of the box with no configuration, this is what you're going to get. So the very first thing I did was to create an empty project. I wasn't interested in any configuration at the moment. I just wanted to get up and running. So I opened a completely empty project in Cubase, and then I navigated to my Cubase projects folder on my master drive, created a folder with the current date, 20th of November, and I saved the project file. So I've opened Cubase, created an empty project, saved that project immediately, and then shut Cubase down. So this is where the interesting stuff happens. At this point, what have I done? I've activated all of my licenses. I've downloaded the Steinberg Download Assistant. I've downloaded and installed Cubase. I've run it once, and I've created the simplest possible empty project and saved it to my hard drive. And then I've shut Cubase down. Now I want to sort out my Cubase configuration files. So I've got quite a few screenshots to show you here. I have a backup drive. to which I've saved pretty much everything off my old PC, including my entire, let's make sure you can see it, roaming folder. So this is my old PC. I've taken a backup of my entire roaming directory, and inside there I've got my Steinberg Cubase 1464 folder. So this that you can see on the right hand side, got 2 copies of Windows Explorer open here, and everything on the right hand side is my old configuration. This is the stuff that I'm going to want to copy across, but I don't want to copy everything because that's going to drag across all of the bloat of the 6 or so years that the last instance of Cubase had built up. It just gets bigger and bigger and uglier. I've decided here that I'm doing a completely clean build, including, as a matter of interest, the media bay. I haven't brought across the media bay from my old PC. I'm going to rebuild it from scratch. So on the left hand side of this screenshot, here is the file explorer for my new PC. So this is the new Steinberg roaming folder, and as you can see, there's a lot less information in here. This is what you get when Cubase runs for the first time. It's going to populate all of these folders and files in the Cubase 1464 or whatever version of Cubase you're running in its roaming folder. So you can see there are far fewer than on the right hand side, and they're all completely default factory settings. So before I show you the rest of the screenshots of me basically executing this process step by step, this is the stuff that you might be interested in if you take a screenshot of those folders. I've determined through past experience, I actually made a video series called The Essential Guide to System Configuration, I think. I'll put a link in the description below. I went back and watched my own video series, which is where I basically demonstrate how to configure Cubase. And I made notes of every location that I needed to pay attention to. And essentially, it comes down to this very small list. Some of them are individual files. A couple of them are entire folders. But I've taken lots of screenshots of this process, so we'll go through it step by step. Firstly, you need to copy these 4 XML files that are highlighted. So these are from your old backup drive. Overwrite those 4 files into your new location. This is all of your key commands, all of your configuration settings for your audio device, ports, inputs and outputs, your profile. Basically, how you want Cubase to look is configured for the most part in those 4 files. There's nothing in any of those files that can possibly be harmful. It's all just configuration information. The next part of the process is a little bit more fiddly because I needed to extract an XML section out of the defaults.xml file, and you can just about see me. I've right-clicked on defaults.xml and I'm going to edit it with Notepad++. This entire process I do go through in that video series I was talking about. So I'm basically searching for the P color controller section inside the defaults.xml file. The reason I'm using Notepad++ is because it gives you a very clean, perfect view, including any special characters that might be in the file. Basically, you get to see the file exactly as you can see on the screen here, and you can see me searching for P color controller. And there's me selecting the entire P color controller XML section. This is quite advanced stuff. If you need to go and watch the video, I do spend a lot of time showing you exactly how to do this. So now I've copied that section. I'm opening the new defaults XML on my new PC. So I'm going to basically edit the second section of defaults XML. I presume in the next screenshot, you're going to see 2 files open in Notepad++. And here we are. So I've basically zoomed into Notepad++ to show you that I've got these 2 different files open in Notepad side by side. And the one that we're looking at the moment is my new file on the C drive. This P color controller section contains all of your color codings, all of your color information, which interestingly, because I've just installed Cubase 15, has been largely broken anyway. But nevertheless, here we are, pasting that P color controller XML section from the old file into the new file. And then this is just me saving the new Notepad file. That was far and away the most fiddly part of the process. You don't need to do it really. You could basically just go in and rebuild your colors from scratch in your new installation, but it's the one section of this entire process where I needed to edit a single file because I wanted a little bit of information out of it. I didn't want to copy the entire defaults XML file. There's a massive stuff in there, and I had no idea whether any of it that was relating to my old machine was going to cause any kind of pollution of my new system. So I just wanted to a really clean extract of that single XML section. If you're not comfortable with working with XML files, just skip everything that I've just talked about. Finally, 2 entire folders that need to be copied across: presets and project templates from inside the Cubase 1464 folder. I want everything from both of those folders. So I've selected them. I'm going to right click copy and then paste them into the new folder. And it's asking me if I want to do a global replace. And of course I do. So at that point, I now relaunch Cubase. And the screenshot that you're seeing here is evidence that that configuration copy has worked, because you can see all of my standard templates. This is one of the many configuration items that I've brought across from my old system, and now here are all of my templates good to go. This is me in the process of creating the new project from one of those templates. I think I selected the standard template, I can't exactly remember. So I've picked that folder that I created earlier, the 20th of November folder, and I'm going to put my project in there. And then I'll launch that new project. So this is what we see. The reason why you're seeing these errors is because my standard templates contain plugins that aren't yet there. All I've done is installed Cubase. I've got G-Tune, which I ended up actually abandoning. I've got IK Multimedia stuff, Amplitude 5, Soundtoys Primal Tap, Steinberg's Groove Agent. I haven't even installed Groove Agent yet. So all of these different plugins are missing, and it's telling me that my standard template has got some stuff missing. Apart from that though, that's exactly how I want my project to look. This was my old colour scheme. Everything's been imported exactly as I want it to be. This is 100% how my old PC used to look. So hand picking those files and dragging them from the old directory into the new directory has worked. I didn't need to do a mass copy and paste. Everything else I don't need to worry about. I can just basically leave it behind. I've got all the stuff that I'm interested in. And here's me just saving that new project. Next up, we need to load the Steinberg Library Manager. Now at the moment, the Library Manager is very uninteresting. You can just about see sort by name here. The Library Manager is running, but there's nothing there. That's because I haven't installed Groove Agent or Hallian, PadShop, Retrolog, any of the Steinberg products that use the Steinberg Library Manager. They're all absent, so the Library Manager has nothing to report. However, what we can do, if you go to the Settings cog at the top of the application, is to set the default library location. This is another one of those things where by default Steinberg is going to download and use stuff on your operating system drive. I don't want it to. I have a separate folder called Cubase Data, and inside there I have a Steinberg content folder. So I'm basically pointing the Library Manager at this root folder called Steinberg Content, where all of my Steinberg libraries are going to be installed. So that's the very first process I carried out in the Library Manager before I installed a single application. Now we're back in the Download Assistant. I still haven't noticed that I've got this settings page open on the left-hand side, which is really annoying. But if we have a quick look at my live system, I've basically selected the Absolute 6 VST collection here, and I'm downloading Hallian 7. That was the next application that I chose to install. Here you can see that I've just installed that single application. Everything else is still blank. I haven't clicked the Install All button at the top. And now when we go back into the Library Manager, there's a lot more interesting stuff to see. We have a Hallian folder and a load of stuff inside it. I've also opened a copy of Windows Explorer so that you can see the Steinberg content folder is now populated with all this stuff. In the Library Manager, if you select this Details button for each of your installations, you can see that it's been installed to Cubase Data, Steinberg Content, and then there's the name of the file that relates back to this individual plugin. So the Library Manager is actually useful for identifying which single VST sound files relate to each of your Hallion installations. Can you see? Anima Presets 01 VST sound is where the content for this application lives. Next up was Groove Agent. Again, this is part of the Absolute 6 package, and here you can see I've installed Groove Agent, and I'm just in the process, when I took this screenshot, of downloading the content file for it. Now, at the time, I was hoping to get away with just installing Groove Agent 5. As it turned out that I needed the content file for Groove Agent 5 SE as well. I thought Groove Agent 5 was a superset of SE and contained everything that the cut down version did. That's not true. SE has its own content files which contain other sounds that Groove Agent 5 doesn't have. So I did need to go back in at some point and download that. I might have a screenshot for it. But here's the library manager after installing Groove Agent. So now we've got 2 tabs in the library manager, and you can see this information's kind of accumulating step by step. It's so pleasing, it's so satisfying to be in this much control of your Cubase installation, to see stuff appearing component by component. So here we've now got all the Groove Agent components that have come with the core package. Now we've got a set of screenshots, basically me installing more stuff from Absolute 6. What do I mean by that? Well, it means I went through this list item by item, and some of them I didn't recognize, like polarities. I didn't know what that meant. So I then did a Google search for Steinberg polarities and found out which application that was related to and what it was. There's a load of stuff inside all of these massive Steinberg installations, particularly Absolute 6, that I've never used. Here's a list actually that I put together in my installation spreadsheet. Everything that I could find in this list that I didn't understand, I made a note of which application it was related to. My requirement for this initial installation was to be able to reload all of the projects that I've worked on for the past 5 or 6 years. Basically all of the music that I've written while I've been running this YouTube channel. I opened each one of those projects and made a list of all of the plugins that each of those projects used. So I knew what I was going to need on day one. Just as a quick illustration, here's a look at the contact tab, for instance. I knew that when I went back to install Native Instruments Contact, these were the libraries I was going to need to install, all the ones marked essential. They were the ones that I've already used. Over these weeks while I was waiting for my new PC to be delivered, I did actually dip into every one of the contact libraries and made a note of whether they were meh, good or essential. And I'll work through this list at some point in the future, reintegrating some of these packages into my installation. My old PC had everything, every Steinberg download, every Native Instruments, every product that I owned, I had absolutely everything installed. And the system was just groaning under the weight. It was just ridiculously bloated. I just didn't want that anymore, which is why I've adopted this kind of laser targeted item by item installation. So these spreadsheets are basically just reflecting this additional content. Here's the Groove Agent tab with a few extra kits appearing, and even a couple of expansions for the newly added pad shop. Now there's about a day between that last screenshot and this next one, because over the course of the next few hours, I went away to all of my non-Steinberg products and installed, again, a curated list for each of them. That really falls out of today's discussion, except to say that by the time I'd finished that, I had, here's me, Arturia, FabFilter, IK Multimedia, whatever licenses I own. You can see me going back into the VST plugin manager and individually curating this list of effects that I individually pulled across. Here's the instruments version of the same thing. You can only see mostly Arturia, but there'll be a few Korg items, Spectrasonics, and here's my newly curated list of VST instruments, ordered by date. I've never done this before. This is kind of a new thing that I had just the greatest joy building all of these folders. Every single one of these instruments, both instruments and effects, every single one that is in these curated lists, I've already used in a project of mine. In other words, I've already decided that I like them, they're good, and I've thrown away that 95% of rubbish or chaff. I shouldn't say rubbish. Stuff that I've not got around to looking at or I've never shown any interest in. It's sat there in the background waiting for me to have a look at it at some point in the future. But for now, I only want a really clean, minimal list. One casualty of the new installation was my old tuner. I used to use a tuner called GVST. It turns out that it's only available in VST2 form, and it was actually the only plugin after I'd done my new install that was still a VST2 plugin. And so I did a little bit of research, and it turns out that the Nembrini tuner, which is freely available if you create yourself an account on the Nembrini website, this is really good. This is a really good tuner. It's VST3, and so now I can disable VST2 plugins. Can you see that the power button for VST2 is off? I don't have a single VST2 plugin, that's really hard to say, installed anywhere on my system. Here's me doing a little bit of sanity checking to confirm that everything's up and running. This is me opening the logical edit presets on my new Cubase, and I'm just checking that all of my user-defined logical edit presets are there. Yes, of course they are. Then they come across as part of your presets folder. Copy. And this final screenshot was when I realized that I needed the Groove Agent SE content. So this is me dipping back into the download manager, and now I'm individually installing single applications that previously I thought I didn't need. Here's me installing Groove Agent SE. Because as part of the testing, I loaded some of my old projects, and one of them complained about missing content. I very quickly realized that there was a problem with the Groove Agent installation, and I needed to install SE. So there you have it. In my old system, my Cubase data folder was about 3.5 terabytes. And as things stand at the moment, it's 761 gig. Now it is going to grow. I know that over time, particularly Native Instruments, which is absolutely vast, there's a ton of really big, like 80 gig expansions that I haven't yet installed. And some of them are going to make their way back into the system. But the fact is that for day one, this is the cleanest, leanest build of Cubase I could possibly contrive. But it's perfectly fully featured. I can load up every single one of the projects that I've written in the past 6 years. All of the plugins are there. All of the configuration works. Everything is exactly as it was a week ago when I held my old PC. It's just that I've got 3 terabytes of data that's missing and an absolute massive bloat that was causing my system to basically run like an absolute dog. Of course, I have decisions to make. At the moment, my media bay is completely initialized. The one thing that I have done is exposed it to my core samples folder off my F drive. That's the only folder that I've exposed media bay to. So I've got my basic installation, everything that my plugin installations or my Steinberg installations will have added. And then I've got my single root folder containing all of my samples, and that's it. I've got none of my user curated ratings or anything. I'm going to basically have a think about what to do with Media Bay as a secondary process. But it worked. Every single one of those stages that I've described today worked flawlessly. All of the Steinberg products installed perfectly. All of my licenses came across very, very smoothly. I had no issues whatsoever with this installation. Admittedly, it took 3 days, but that was 3 days of just slow, methodical, step-by-step configuration. If you're sufficiently well prepared and you know exactly all of the stuff that you need to bring across from your old system, you don't need to do a mass copy and paste, dragging across a load of stuff and you've got no idea what trouble it's going to cause you in the future. Hope this video has been useful to you. Please hit like if it was. I'll see you again. Thanks very much for watching.